We've got Hannah with us from Mississippi, wants to talk about the argument for motion by Aristotle and Thomas Aquinas. So Hannah, you want to walk through it with us?
This is a classical argument people have for God using basically the idea that due to the structure of how we understand motion, that points to the idea of God. Although it should be noted, this is not strictly a proof of the biblical God, but of the God concept in general. So, I mean, it would be relevant to the atheist experience, even though it wouldn't necessarily be to, say, the Judeo-Christian conception of God. But could I just go to the premises real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I had a quick question first, if you don't mind. Hannah, have you called in before under a different name?
Yes.
Okay, just want to. I find it a little disconcerting with the name change. It smells of trying to avoid something, but I'll go with it for now. What you got?
No, I'm not trying to evade anything. Just this is a name that I've recently felt more comfortable with, but
no problem.
Yeah.
No problem. I just wanted to, whenever we see people calling in under different names, there is a high correlation with either trolling or trying to get around something. So I just wanted to put that on the table and let you know that I'm with you. So what are the premises? 1, things are in motion. 2, nothing can move itself. 3, there cannot be an infinite regress of movers. Is that what you're talking about?
So I'll just list down each of the premises. So the first is...
I just did. Do you agree with them? Did you agree with them?
I didn't fully hear them, but I'll just...
Okay, listen real quickly because I don't... Our readers are familiar... Our readers, my God, I'm old. Our listeners are familiar with this. Premise 1, you're talking about... You said argument for motion. So premise 1, things are in motion. 2, nothing can move itself. 3, there cannot be an infinite regress of movers. The conclusion, there must be a first uncaused mover. Is that what you are talking about?
Yes.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that, Hannah?
God.
Are you convinced by that?
Well, I'm convinced that fact that there can't be an infinite regress of causes and effects, there would have to be a first cause, and I'm convinced that that first cause would have to be non-spatiotemporal, and typically a non-spatiotemporal first creator of the universe is God, or described as God.
Okay, let's leave the definition of God out of it first and just talk about your premises. So you said there cannot be an infinite regress of cause and effect. 1, that's one assertion you made. 2, you said therefore there must be a first cause, and that's 2. And 3, that cause must be non-spatiotemporal, i.e. outside of space and time. Do I understand you correctly? I just want to make sure I understand you.
Yeah, so all those premises I consider a valid proof.
Okay, so how can you establish that those premises are actually true? And let's start with number 3. You have a cause that is outside space and time, but somehow interacts with something inside space and time. What evidence do you have that that is possible?
Well, what do you mean? Like,
I said, what evidence do you have that that is, in fact, possible? Possibility must be demonstrated, right?
Now, what is possible?
That a thing, that A, that there can be anything outside of space and time, and B, that such a thing, if it did in fact exist, could interact with something that's inside space and time. So can you demonstrate that either of those is actually possible, much less what actually happened?
Well, yes, we can establish things can be outside of space and time because, as Immanuel Kant proved, in my view, space and time are subjective intuitions of consciousness. So there can be things outside of space and time, since space and time are subjective intuitions according to Kant. And the premise.
Okay, wait.
That's not
okay.
accurate.
A, it's not accurate. B, you're smelling a lot like somebody who likes to come in and what was his name? Jimmy, who just would recite other philosophers and just accept them as proofs or as fact. Justin, what are your thoughts on what level of evidence would you need to know that something could in fact exist outside space and time? Or is the proper answer we don't know if that's even possible? I am talking to Justin right now.
I think the question that I have is not what Immanuel Kant says about space and time.
Right.
I'd be more concerned with what like actual cosmologists and physicists have to say about space and time. And what we know from science is that something that exists in no place and for no time is indistinguishable from things that don't exist. I also know for a fact that without time, you can't have an acting agent. There's no such thing as acting outside of time, because time is a thing that separates any two things. So like if God created something or God had a thought, that means there was a moment
before the thing.
Yeah, there was a moment in which he didn't do that, and there was a moment in which he did do that. Those are two different moments that are separated by time, which means it doesn't make sense to say God is outside of time unless you believe that your God is equivalent to non-existence. And I agree, your God sounds a lot like non-existence.
Let's stick with that one, Hannah. What do you say to Jimmy's, excuse me, Jimmy, I'm looking at Jimmy, who's busy drawing. What do you say to Justin's point?
Absolutely ridiculous, and had no refutation of what my point, that space and time are subjective intuitions of consciousness, and that the noumenal realm isn't bound by the phenomenal realm of spatiotemporal.
Okay, we can assert the opposite just as well as you, right?
No,
we could assert the opposite, that space and time are not subjective experiences. They are, in fact, objectively real. Now, where do we go? Where are we?
No, because of the transcendental proof of the a priori intuitions of all cognition.
No, I'm done. As somebody who doesn't want to agree that space and time exist, I don't think is very useful to talk to.
Yeah, wait, I want to make sure I understood what you're saying. Are you suggesting that space and time are just mental concepts, that they don't exist in reality?
I'm saying our phenomenal concept of spatiotemporality are a priori intuitions for all transcendental conditions for all future cognition, and don't.
And I know, like, it makes you sound you want to sound smart by using a bunch of philosophical words, but I asked you a really easy question.
Hold on, I got to do an imitation real quickly. This is you at McDonald's. All right, I say, as the McDonald's guy, would you like fries with that? And you say, well, I experienced the sensation of desire with respect to your proposal of a fried potato product being delivered unto me in this transaction in which I will exchange monetary value for foodstuff, and in which I would later ingest that, and it would give me a sense of pleasure, instead of just saying yes. You get where we're going at? You are using $8 words where 25-cent words are what is appropriate at this point.
I don't agree, because
I know you don't. We've spoken before. Your problem is you answer, would you like fries with that, with 8 paragraphs rather than a yes or a no. Yeah, so it's because you are hiding something. It is hiding something. I want Justin to go, and then you can ask your question.
Yeah, I still didn't actually get an answer to the question, and I thought it was a pretty easy question. I'm just asking you, are you suggesting that space and time, that they don't actually exist in reality, but they're just subjective experiences that our brain is inventing?
I.e., would you like fries with that?
I'm saying the concepts of space and time as we experience them are not representative of the world as it is in itself.
That's not an answer. That's not an answer to his question. Does space and time exist?
Yeah. Do they exist outside of our minds, outside of our subjective experience? Does space-time exist?
Transcendental space-time is not the same as noumenal space-time.
Okay. He doesn't want fries with that, apparently.
He can't answer. Okay. Well, listen, Hannah, I mean, we really wanted to engage with you, but it sounds like you can't actually engage without doing word salad. So, I mean, if you don't want to engage in a good faith dialogue, we don't have to. I could move on to the next caller. So I'd love to give you one last chance.
Good concept.
So do you have an answer to the question? Does space-time exist in reality? Like when cosmologists say, hey, space-time is a web, we can observe it, we can measure it, we can interact with it. Do you agree with the scientists when they say this?
If you're asking me, do I think that physical space-time, an extension, could exist? Yes.
I'm asking you, do you believe it does exist in reality? Not could it exist? I mean, is it your position that the observable universe, which includes space-time, that is the reality, that is a thing that actually exists?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so you don't know. Okay.
Do you
Well,
do you accept the proposition as true?
Well, he
It's
doesn't
a
know.
binary
So,
yes or no.
I would say
It's you either accept the proposition or you don't accept it. It doesn't mean you reject it. Do you accept the proposition is true that space-time exists as most physicists discuss it?
yeah, I accept the proposition with this, overwhelming probability. Yes, I do accept it.
okay, cool. So
Okay,
space-time does exist.
So why did it take us? Why did it take us nearly 7 minutes to get that answer out of you? What is going on? If you're the same person that's been calling all this time, that are, quite frankly, I apologize to our viewers. If you're the same person that's been doing this, why do you do what you do? Why do you call this show? And when you're asked if you want fries with that, you give an 8-paragraph answer rather than speaking like, quite frankly, a normal human being on an average normal human call-in talk show. What is your point? What is your objective here? Because this has been going on nonstop for months and it needs to end. You either have a medical condition and you need to seek help, or you are trolling us, or you are incapable of communicating like a normal human being. I'm sick of this, but I want to give you a chance to explain yourself because I have a morbid curiosity as to what you do with your life. Is this how you speak at work? I don't think it is. So what's going on? Please explain it. So please enlighten us.
I'd love to know, like at work, if they say, "Hey, can you be in the office at 8?" You know, is that a phenomenological 8 o'clock, or is that a transcendental 8 o'clock?
Time is relative. Yeah.
So so first of all, I don't go to work. I'm currently enrolled in community college and studying for school. So I'm studying that, and no, I don't talk to other people in my day-to-day interactions with, you could say, higher-level academic speak. The reason I call in is because I would like to demonstrate why I think religion is important for our culture and proofs of God's existence, like this argument for motion, which we still haven't really fully gotten through. And the second reason, if the question is, why do I speak with terms that are not mud level terms, that are like above mud level, that are higher levels of sophistication, is because I think these are complicated questions and you can't reduce them to like simple binary yes or no. You actually have to look at like what you mean by the concepts you use, and you should be very precise.
Okay. The question was, why are you calling us with this though?
Because I believe I can shape some people's minds to believe in God and to believe religion is useful for society.
Shouldn't you engage with people who want to speak at the level you're speaking and will spend 8 hours defining a word?
I believe you guys are perfectly capable of speaking at the level I speak at.
So, Hannah, I just want to.
Who want to, right? There's simple concepts that if you can't break them down into just simple, like, can we agree on X? Can we agree on Y? You can never progress. And all of your babble speaks of a person who is incapable of breaking it down into simple ways. And if there's one experience I have in working with professionals across all fields, is the experts can break it down into simple terms and speak simply for the purpose of building consensus, of education, of argumentation. That's why I'm asking you about what your purpose is, because you are not achieving your purpose at all by doing this.
And I would just add too, when I was in seminary, we had really good advice on writing sermons. And because there's this idea when you really start learning a lot of Greek and Hebrew, and you're learning some deeper subjects to really dig into biblical studies, you want to be able to utilize some of that during your sermons. But that is a bad temptation to have, because nobody in your church understands a word that's coming out of your mouth. And you're explicitly told that it doesn't matter what you're learning here. If you can't communicate it in terms that is understandable to the level of your congregation, you're wasting everyone's time. So you're coming up on the stage using a bunch of words that you learned in Philosophy 101, assuming that you're sounding smart, but you're not actually communicating to normal people. All you're doing is stroking your own ego, making bad arguments. You're not convincing a single normal human being that you hold to anything more rational than what we're holding on to. So just a bit of advice from my own professors. If you want people to take you seriously and to engage in your arguments, you're better off using terminology that people actually know and can actually engage with. If we sit here and have a 45-minute discussion on metaphysics with you, we're going to lose a whole audience. No one cares. No, not a single atheist has ever been convinced of a God based on these bad arguments that you're providing. Not a single one.
I don't know.
These are arguments that believers make so that they don't feel silly that they believe things.
100%. And I hope if you are in school, you will learn that you will learn that, hey, Philosophy 101 question. Prove to me that that chair exists. I pick it up and I hit you in the head with it. That's how I do it, right? It's that simple. It's not, let's talk about the epistemological properties and the arguments and the wherefores. At some point, it boils down to where the rubber hits the road. It is fine to navel gaze in class and to think of all of these possible things. But when it comes down to it, the world that we live in, even though it may be a macro world that's built on a micro world, that world has real effects. People are living, people are dying, people are passing laws that will persecute people. And that's what matters. And we're not going to change minds by sitting here wondering, gee, isn't it mysterious? Wonder if this, wonder if that, and then pretend like, presto, we've just proven that there's a God because we just defined a bunch of terms and made a bunch of arguments, but provided no evidence of anything supernatural. So I would recommend following Justin's advice 100%. I think he got good advice.
Okay. Can we get to the actual argument that I was coming in with and the premises?
No.
Because I don't think
we gave you 10 minutes to answer one yes or no question, and it took you 10 minutes. We're moving on. I suggest. I don't know about you, Justin.
Yeah, I mean it's about 7:30.
Yeah, you've used a lot of times. Like again, from a practical sense, get in and make your elevator pitch. Right, just get in and say what the point is. I even read off the premises, and we could have stuck at that level. Things are in motion. Nothing can move itself. There cannot be an infinite regress. Therefore, uncaused first mover. Everybody's heard it. Everybody knows about it. If it were a winner, there'd be a Nobel Prize, and there'd be God schools in every college, and all that sort of stuff. So we're not doing anything new that hasn't been thought about by brains bigger than us here by just talking with fancy words and avoiding simple questions.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm asking how you refute the argument as my question.
He told you.
Go ask somebody who cares, to be honest. I'm sorry, but I don't care to speak with somebody who is going to take 10 minutes to answer a yes or no question, who is either incapable or unwilling to be a practical partner in a discussion. It's just maddening. And I regularly, I can talk your pants off at legalese and the philosophy of law and all that shit, but I choose not to because it doesn't do anything except when you are arguing with academics who are going to write persuasive papers that will influence public policy. That's how the world works, right? I can get into debates with my professor who might be persuaded by a subtle point I'm making about, hey, remember that this was the reason that the Magna Carta was signed, and because of blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, he writes an article in a law journal that is read by a bunch of judges and a bunch of politicians, and it might influence the world, and it might save a life or make somebody's life better. That's how the world works. It doesn't work by you coming in and using your $8 words in a internet call-in show about atheism. It just doesn't matter. We change minds by being practical and speaking to our audience, and that is a lesson you need to learn.
Yeah, and I don't want to dogpile on you, so I'm sorry for doing that. But like when you came in and you wanted to talk about the argument for motion, Graham and I both know the argument already. He already had the premises pulled up, and he started the conversation by engaging with the premises that you know are part of the argument. And then you decided to obfuscate for 10 minutes. So from our position, what it sounds like is that you just don't want to engage in the actual premises of the argument until we hold your feet to the fire. And now you're saying, oh, I'd like to go back and engage with a little more good faith, but you've given us no reason to believe that you can engage in good faith. And now, unfortunately, we're out of time. We've got to keep the show moving because, you know, everyone here is on a schedule. So Hannah, you're welcome to call back on our next show. We're more than happy to take you, but next time you call back and we're actually starting the conversation by engaging in the premises of the argument you brought up, maybe it's a good idea to actually engage in the argument rather than obfuscate and use word salad.
Good point.
All right. Talk to you next time.